Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to join us to today's Go Getter webinar. My name is Jeff Miller. I am the CEO of gogetta.africa, the Africa's crowdfunding platform for entrepreneurs to raise capital across the continent, and we look forward to hosting you at today's event. Today we're going to address Crowdfunding 101, and I'm pleased to announce that we've got a number of panelists that will be presenting their offerings to us. So first up, we're going to have Elijah Jan, from co-founder of Fundamentals. We will have Warwick Blamey, the CEO of Shantuka, Kgalaniso Maloleka, from the director of Trailed, Terence Richardson, the CEO of Connecting Lives, and Logan Wolfson, co-founder of the Naked Cuba Rentals. So that will be the order of events. Just to let you know that at the end of the webinar, we will be asking for details because there is CBD points that will be allocated to you for this actual webinar. So before we get started, I think what we want to do is we want to play a video just to give you some sort of feel of what Go Getter is all about. So Anne, can I ask you to play same, please? Great. I hope you got a little bit of a feel and look and feel of what's happening. We're going to put up a poll just to get a feel of who's in the room. So the first poll, can I ask that we put up the first poll, please, guys? And this is saying, are you looking to invest, raise capital, or learn more about crowdfunding? Just give us an idea of who's in the room. Or we have investors, we've got entrepreneurs looking to raise capital, or just some, just people looking, and investors or entrepreneurs looking to find out more. So please, just can you go on the screen or on your computers and just fill in the poll. Okay, so most of the people in the room, 47%, is looking to understand more about crowdfunding, and that's what this is all about. Some are looking to raise capital, 24%, and 19% are looking to invest. Right, so what I am going to do is now we're going to kick off and give it a go. So first of all, let's look at why Crowdfunding Africa. Okay, so what is crowdfunding all about? What are the possible returns? What are we going to need, and what is it going to do? So Africa is in its early stages of crowdfunding. We will go through just now. I'll take you through some of the slides whereby we'll show you what's happening in the rest of the world. But really what it is can I ask that you please move this along? Okay, so what is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding takes small amounts of capital from a large pool of investors to finance an opportunity. And there's various types of crowdfunding that we have. There is donation crowdfunding, where people are looking to raise money for a good cause. There's reward crowdfunding, that if you give us some money, we will give you free tickets or a free dinner or whatever the reward may be. There's debt crowdfunding, where people are looking to raise debt for a particular opportunity. And then there's equity crowdfunding, and that's where we play for Go Getter, is where investors are able to actually subscribe for shares in the private capital markets, into venture capital and private equity type opportunities. Okay, across the world, crowdfunding has been here for many, many years. So globally, we can see that the industry is worth, I can't even see my slide, is what is it? Sorry. Is 17 odd billion rand in the whole industry. North America is 5.6 billion. Europe, excluding the UK, is 280 million pounds. The UK, 352 million pounds. And Africa represents only 0.1% of all capital raised. Now, it's forecasted that crowdfunding is growing across the globe at 16 to 17% per annum, and it's forecasted to reach 43 billion by 2028, $43 billion by 2028. The biggest market is North America. The highest transaction value for any one particular transaction raised via crowdfunding is $537 million. And as you can see, that's quite a big ticket size. I can tell you that most crowdfunding, albeit that it's been around for a long time, is most of the funding has been raised in the North American market. Okay, so why Africa? So Africa is the forefront of the digital economy. She's bursting with innovation and she's world class. But really, why have we as Go-Getter gone for the African continent? Because Africa is in its infancy. It has so much potential. In fact, there's already been 8 or 9 unicorns that have actually been raised and funded on the African continent. The African continent has massive adoption of digital finance and mobile money. And that was not by design, it was by necessity. There's very, very low penetration of historical financial institutions across the continent. And it's required that there had to be innovation. There's a cultural fit between crowdfunding and traditional community investing. And I refer you to the Stokvels, which has been around for many, many years. By 2050, more than half of the world's population growth will be in Africa. The African youth population is taking the lead in digital transformation and the economy. And we see that day in and day out. And really, the most important is to by getting into investments in Go-Get, into the capital markets, the private capital markets, you're able to actually get a piece of this opportunity and help in redefining Africa's narrative. So who is Go-Getter? Okay, so Go-Getter is an African equity-based crowdfunding platform. It is for African businesses to entrepreneurs to list their opportunities on the Go-Getter platform with the ability to raise money. Go-Getter will not list any non-African businesses onto the platform. Obviously, investors all over the world will be able to take advantage of the various investments on the platform. So really, who are we? We are a mirror of the inventive and the resilient entrepreneurial spirit of Africa. Okay, we're creating a home for African business mavericks. We are opening the gates for hungry investors looking to put their money into Africa. We believe that entrepreneurship must be at the heart and the efforts to transfer Africa and to create jobs. We believe in the creativity and the skill of the African people across the continent. We believe crowdfunding opens the doors to the continent and beyond. So really what it does is allows the retail investor the opportunity to enter the private capital markets via venture capital or private equity and to invest alongside sophisticated investors, institutional institutions, venture capital companies, private equity funds, and high net worth individuals, so to invest in various private capital opportunities. We've seen this right across the world where the crowd and I talk about the crowd being the retail market or retail investors invest alongside that of the sophisticated investors who do all the heavy lifting by doing due diligences, valuations, kicking the tires, and looking under the hood. So, you know, who is Grovest? Grovest, GoGetta is powered by Grovest. Grovest is a majority shareholder in GoGetta. Grovest has been very, very much involved in managing venture capital investments for the last 10 years on a formal basis. We were pioneers of the Section 12J industry in South Africa. We have 10 house funds. We have approximately 30 funds under administration, and totally collectively, we administer in excess of 3.5 billion rand of retail money. So I think that we for the last 10 years, we have really got a feel of what the retail investor requires. We've been working with the FSCA, SIPC, POPI, FICA, all the appropriate legislation to keep everything regularized. Okay, we understand the constraints of investors. We understand that it's not easy for investors to raise money from traditional sources. And obviously, having experienced Section 12J, we believe that the crowdfunding opportunity is the way to go. So here you have the opportunity for retail investors to actually invest in these type of companies by allowing venture capital and private equity investments to contribute to part of their portfolio and invest on the exact same terms as venture capital and private equity companies in these opportunities, and these guys are sophisticated investors and have done, like I said, all the hard lifting prior. Grovest also responsible for making sure that any of the investments that are listed onto the GoGetta platform has gone through the necessary due diligence, that there's an investment committee that has looked at the valuations, at the team, albeit that we know that investing in venture capital is high risk. We try to take as much risk as we can out of the equation by assisting with the due diligence. Okay, we also ensure that, as we have in the past, that there's proper compliance, reporting, annual general meetings, audits, and regular communication to investors. So how does it work? What is the investor journey? How does crowdfunding work? Well, there's two legs to the crowdfunding journey. One is if you're an investor, and the second one is if you're an entrepreneur and you want to raise money utilizing the platform. So let's start with the investor. So obviously you would sign up, or you'd log into gogetta.africa, and what you would do is there's a sign up form, and you would fill out the necessary fields. There's a KYC requirement, and this KYC requirement is required by the FSCA, who GoGetta is regulated with, in order to ensure that you're not a terrorist or you're a money launderer, etc., etc. We understand that it's a bit of a hassle, but in any financial investment, whether it's on the platform or whether through any other institution, FICA is required. Once you have completed your sign-up and your FICA, which is absolutely at no charge, there's absolutely no obligation for you, you obviously can then search the various opportunities that are listed on the platform. Currently, there are 4 opportunities across different sectors, whereby you can then have a look and you can look at the financials, you can look at the forecasts, you look at the cash flows, you can look at the teams, and you can make an investment decision. Once you've agreed to make an investment decision, all you have to, there's 2 ways of paying. You can use your credit card, or there's an EFT requirement, and you make your payment, and that money will then come through to GoGetta. Only once the capital raised has been raised to the total amount of the minimum amount of the crowdfunding requirement would that be a financial close. If for whatever reason that we do not raise the minimum amount for the various investment, that investment or the capital raised will be returned to you or put into a wallet whereby you can actually use towards another investment. Again, if there's any questions, and please put them in the chat box, and I'm happy to address them as and when they come. The minimum amount for investor is 1,000 Rand. Very, very different to historically when this type of investment was not open to the retail investor, but was only open to institutions, venture capital companies, private equity companies, family offices, and very high net worth individuals. Here for 1,000 Rand, you can invest in the private markets, actually, and build a portfolio of a number of investments, and actually monitor your investments on a regular basis to see how they're doing. And again, I emphasize that you would be investing alongside venture capital companies and private equity companies. Just for information purposes, one of the investments listed on the platform currently is near financial close, with a venture capital company committing to invest well in above the minimum amount. So the platform provides comprehensive information to assist investment decisions, and there's a pitch deck which is quite comprehensive for you to go through. Okay, all campaigns are strictly vetted for validity, viability, and compliance before being approved and listed on the platform. And then again, once you have invested, you would get a share certificate, which is in Gogetta, which would be the major shareholder in the underlying investor, and who would represent you as a shareholder at shareholders meetings, AGMs, etc. And obviously, you would receive regular communication as to the performance of your investment. As regards the entrepreneur journey, can we go to the entrepreneur's journey? So entrepreneurs would be able to list on the platform. I think today, although that there are quite a number of entrepreneurs, what you would do is there is an opportunity to sign up onto the platform and put your pitch deck if you have such a thing. Alternatively, send your pitch deck to hello@gogetta.africa, hello@gogetta.africa. And that way we would be able to obviously receive your pitch deck and get back to you and discuss next steps. Can we just move on slightly, please, if you don't mind? Okay, so we are on a mission to crowdfund Africa forward. But what are the challenges? Okay, there's obviously challenges. And that one people would ask is, it all sounds great. So what are the potential downfalls? So the liquidity is an issue. But very soon, secondary markets will be opened whereby investments or primary investments into crowdfunding and other private capital market investments will be able to trade on a secondary market, and that will be open. It's not available at the moment, but it will be open shortly. But I think it's important to understand that this type of investment into private equity, venture capital is a medium to long-term investment. It is not in today and out tomorrow. If that is what you're looking to do, this is certainly not the asset class that you want to be involved in. You need to take a view, and generally the view should be about 3 to 5 years, and actually the longer the investment, the better the return. Okay, Africa is in its infancy, so it does give us an opportunity to actually get involved in some exciting and interesting entrepreneurial opportunities that will be presented across the continent. Again, I have to emphasize that venture capital investing is high risk, but then again, the potential of the high returns are very, very good. But there is a risk-reward relationship over here, and you're not going to normally get your returns that you're investing in, whether it's in the money market or on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange Index. Okay, so before we go in and introduce the various panelists, or bring the various panelists in, I just want to say that the crowdfunding platform is a great opportunity to get into this type of asset class. It's an opportunity that has never been available to investors previously, other than in Section 12J, which has now come to end in June 21. And I think this is a nice platform, or great platform, to get you going and put your toe in it. And with small amounts of money, if you want to play, obviously you can put in as much money as you want to actually get a feel of what the private markets are all about. So I think that brings me to the end of my session. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to invite Elijah to come forward and tell us why crowdfunding appeals. Over to you, Elijah.
Thank you very much, Jake. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elijah Jan. Thank you for your time, and thank you to the Go-Getter team for inviting me. So just to start off, over the years, the financial system and the word accessible have never gone together. Even today, in certain parts of the financial system, there are still accessibility issues and restrictions where only the who's who of the financial ladder have access to them. You know, the financial system is like one of those 1950 balls that we see in the movies where only the high class have access to. But today, with platforms like Go-Getter, we too can enter and join the party. There seems to be a myth that goes around that says that investing is for the super rich and that I can't invest if I'm not rich. Well, this used to be true in a world where technology was not as advanced as it is today. I recall Simon Brown in a podcast episode a while back speaking about how difficult and expensive it was for him to buy his first share. They literally posted his share certificate to him. Nowadays, we have platforms that make this a lot easier. And as time goes on and as technology improves, access to the financial system gets easier and easier. And therefore, I'm so excited by this launch today because yet again, there's a new entry point into a different facet of the once heavily guarded financial system. I have experienced this firsthand on several occasions. I mean, back in my varsity years, I discovered the term investing and really read everything out there about it. Well, maybe not everything, but read enough to understand that investing is a really core principle in terms of wealth accumulation. And this was all before platforms like Easy Equities and the likes existed. The only options available were unit trusts or ETFs, which had a minimum of 10,000 Rand or a 1,000 Rand per month minimum. I, as a second-year student on a bursary, where am I going to get 1,000 Rand for me to start investing? But after reading so much about investing and really understanding the impact and the power of what investing is, I couldn't give up that easily. So I got a group of my mates from Res and tried to convince them to join me on this journey. Told them about the impact and the importance of investing. And I got 13 of them together, and we embarked on a journey to start an investing stokvel. A year later, every member of the stokvel was so grateful for the initiative because one, they would have never saved or invested that 150 Rand that we were contributing for us to reach that 1,000 Rand limit. And two, the stuff we learned throughout the journey have been instrumental and fundamental in our financial journeys of the past. And there, it hit me. I want to help bring access to the financial space. And this is what we do at Fundamentals. Our goal is to build a universe of financially rich individuals and democratize access to financial education. But let me tell you a little secret. I have a wireframe somewhere sitting on my PC, and the app was intended to make investing journey simple. It was a mix of something that we know as Easy Equities now and what Go-Getter is combined together. So to all the entrepreneurs on the call now and the would-be entrepreneurs, ideas are a dime a dozen, right? The real power is really in the execution of your idea and not having the idea first. I'm so glad that Jeff and the team have launched Go-Getter with over 3.5 billion Rand, that's B, that's billion with a B, under management. They understand what they're doing here. And not to mention the years of experience that they have with over 12 years in the financial industry through Grovest, a company that is still running and was instrumental in the Section 12J. This is a company that doesn't seem like it'll fold overnight. So why is such a platform appealing? As I mentioned earlier, how the finance and accessibility do not go together. And therefore, a platform like GoGetter makes sense. In the past, only VCs, venture capitalists, and high net worth individuals, also called angel investors, had access to investing in startups and small businesses. But now, the man on the street can also invest in startups and small businesses for only 1,000 Rand. I'm sure a lot of us have looked at Apple's stock price and wished to ourselves, if only I invested in Apple in the beginning. Or something closer to home like Capitec, think about, if only I could invest in the beginning. The truth is, we wouldn't have been able to invest in the early days because one, you wouldn't have been able to find a Capitec or an Apple in the early days. And two, Capitec wouldn't have been looking for 1,000 Rand from you. They were looking for a couple of 100,000 in their early days. So if you don't believe me, listen to this. When Apple first listed, their share was $8, 80 cents to the dollar, right? And right now it sits at $153. If you had invested just 1,000 Rand, then it would be worth 1.9 million Rand. And I'm pretty sure before they actually listed, there were a lot less than that. So again, using Capitec, something closer to home to us, it was first listed on the stock exchange, JSE, at 1.39 Rand. And now it sits at 1,700 Rand per share. If you put 1,000 Rand in it, that would have been worth 1.2 million Rand. With GoGetter and other equity crowdfunding platforms, you can possibly invest in the next Apple or Capitec early on. But ladies and gentlemen, be cautious. The stats say that 9 out of 10 companies fail. However, GoGetter has an internal stringent due diligence process that thoroughly checks the companies before they list them on the platform. So this may reduce that failure rate. Not every company that applies gets listed if they don't pass the due diligence process. But it's also very key as an investor for you to do your own research and understand where and why you're putting your money in a specific company. As an investor, you need to understand that it is a long-term investment that you're making. And if you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme or looking to make a couple of hundreds in a quick month or two, this is not the place. I mean, Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of our time, speaks about find a good company and hold its shares forever. He exemplifies that. I mean, he first bought Coke shares at the age of 11 years old. He's 92 and he's still holding on to those shares. So equity investing is really about thinking long-term and thinking about joining the company and being part of their growth and their journey towards greater success. Just as an investor, one of the secrets to wealth is ownership. And now we too can own something through the GoGetter platform. But on the flip side, as a founder who has raised funding over the years, I understand the cry of fellow entrepreneurs for funding and the many hoops that must be jumped through, especially as a person of color. The fundraising journey is a lengthy, time-consuming, and admin-oriented endeavor, with the pitching and repitching and the rejection again and again and again. I mean, as a founder, this can really distract you from your actual day-to-days running of a business, and also the rejections can be discouraging and really take the oomph and the energy out of you as to why you actually started this business. But with the crowdfunding platform, you pitch once with a perfectly curated video and you have access to the crowd, a global audience of investors, what I would like to coin crowd capital. Thanks to the internet, not only will other South Africans and Africans see your pitch, but the rich Americans and Europeans overseas, where 1.5 million Rand is merely pocket change to them, and they can also invest in your business now. However, as an entrepreneur, you need to go out the building, go and do some marketing as well to make sure that people see your company and come to the platform, find your video, and can invest in you. Another advantage of the crowd is that they become your marketers. I mean, once someone buys equity and sees the dividends or sees their share price growing, they start spreading word of mouth. They go tell their friends' friends and their friends' friends and their friends' friends' friends, and everyone gets excited about your business, comes to the platform, and also buys some of the equity or helps contribute towards your growth. And that's the key about the crowd. I mean, we all know of capital and we all know of social capital, but now with crowd capital, I mean, what I believe it does, it opens up a new world where it creates a community around a central business where we're all coming together because we believe in this specific business and what it's trying to achieve. And therefore, we will share it with other people who have similar belief systems and gathering a community around that and really just building from not just the capital perspective, but also just social and word of mouth happening. Most of these guys could probably be your first customers and really just helping you on a marketing spend as well. A few success stories locally within the equity crowdfunding. There was a craft beer company that raised over 3 million Rand a few years back, and a tech company that raised 5 million Rand, and they're still in operation. And they raise the capital they require to get them to where they are through an equity crowdfunding platform here in South Africa. So this is nothing new, and this is not this is something that's here to stay, and something that is really changing the landscape and the fundraising landscape. However, ladies and gentlemen, be aware, right, of the following. Whether you're a founder or an investor, you need to make sure it makes sense for you and where you are, both in your business journey and your personal finance journey. Equity crowdfunding may not be the right product or tool for you right now as an investor in terms of an asset class, or it may not be the right thing for you as a founder to get capital from right now. So you just need to understand the pros and cons and make sure it fits your journey and really plug into it and make the best out of it, right? Understand as a founder that you'll be giving away equity. And again, make sure that you're okay with giving away that equity and that your business is at the right stage where giving away equity makes strategic sense. But don't be afraid to give away equity, and don't give it away recklessly though. Because I mean, 10% of R1 billion is way better than 100% of R1 million. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even Jeff Bezos owns at less than 20% of Amazon right now. So the giving away equity is quite essential in the growth of the company. To the investors out there, be aware of other platforms that seem to be like an equity crowdfunding platform, but don't have specific checks that are required in place, specifically a team that has years of experience in the space, a team that's open to have educational sessions like this and really get you guys understanding what's going on, like what Jeff and the team are doing. And also a really cool trick, especially if it's a South African company, is to check if they have an FSP number. It's usually at the bottom of their website. And if you go to the GoGetta website now and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see there's an FSP number. What this essentially means is that they're governed and have been approved by the FSCA to be a financial company, and they can lawfully take your money, right? So the crowdfunding space is nothing new. I'm not sure who it was, but I think it was either Lebo or Vusi who said that crowdfunding is simply a stokvel that went to private school. Building on that analogy, equity crowdfunding is a stokvel that went to private school in the States. As Africans, we are used to the stokvel context, right? We are used to coming together for a singular purpose, coming together and putting capital down for us to either buy groceries, buy property, or buy something that we believe in. And now we're doing the same thing here, but with the use of technology to open doors to allow us to own a piece of what could hopefully be the next African unicorn. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an opportunity for the man on the street to get access to opportunities that were once unreachable, and an opportunity for the entrepreneur building the next unicorn to not just get access to capital, but access to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, happy hunting for the next African unicorn, and may the next African unicorn find the funding they require to unleash their potential. Thank you, and God bless.
Thanks, Elijah. That was very, very informative, much appreciated. I think that Amazon, we lost some of his shares or half his equity when he got divorced. But be that as it may, I want to, just go on to a second poll, and that is the people on this call. Have you created an account with GoGetta? Yes. No, but I want to, or I'm still thinking about it. Guys, we'll give you a couple of 30 seconds just to fill in, and then we can get some sort of idea of if you guys have already registered onto the GoGetta platform or not. Obviously, the more registrations, the better. You will be obviously involved, get all our communications and offerings as well. No, there is absolutely no commitment by registering onto the platform. Okay. All right. So I think a lot of people have registered. Some are going to, and some are still thinking about it. Thank you, Anne. Great. Next up, we welcome Warwick Blamey, the CEO of Shantuka, to present his opportunity to the crowd.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Jeff. Thanks for just share the screen. Yeah, my name's Warwick Blamey. I head up the Foxwest group of companies. Shantuka Macadamia Farm is one of our subsidiaries. It forms one of the 12 companies within our group. But through GoGetta, we are raising 10 million rand, which will make up around 26% it's of the share capital within the Chautauqua macadamia farm. The farm is based down in KZN, just outside of Stanger. It's a 208 hectare. It's what was a sugarcane farm previously, which has now been developed into 140 hectares of macadamias. Just to give you a bit of background, we plant around 312 macadamia trees per hectare, which equates to around 43,000 trees that have already been planted on the farm. And we expect to be producing around 500 tons of macadamia nuts per annum after 5 years, once all the trees have matured. Macadamia farming is one of the most profitable subsectors it's in South Africa, with a lot of sugar farms now moving towards macadamias where possible. The funds that are going to be raised. First of all, well done to the Go-Getter team. I believe we are that's past the 50% mark on the capital raise. So it seems it's all going well on that side. So well done to the team. Funds raised for the Mac farm will be used for fertilizer, chemicals, equipment, labor, diesel to take the farm through to the it's a 5-year period for the trees to start producing, and once we get to full production, there'll be an exit from our side. Just to give you a bit of background on the general valuations on how Mac farms are valued. So you acquire your land generally. It's between 100, you can get land up to 250,000 rand a hectare. That's with nothing on it. Once you've planted, after a year, the valuations are around 175. Once the trees are 2 years old, you sit at the 250 mark, and then so it increases up to year 7, where you, if you had to go buy a farm now with mature Mac trees, you're looking at around that 750,000 rand mark. The 250 is where we're sitting at the moment. So that's where the peg in the ground was put from a valuation perspective. We would then be exiting the Go-Getter investors at around year 7, which is 5 years from now. And that would be at the 750,000 rand mark, which just shows you the appreciation of your investments if you do invest. How do we exit the Go-Getter investments? Chautauqua Holdings, which is our agricultural group holdings, would acquire those shares back from Go-Getter once we reach maturity. So that's called it's a put option, which would be executed, and we would then acquire those shares back. So going to what Elijah was saying earlier, this investment, you're probably not going to see the unicorn of a Coca-Cola, but you are going to see a hell of a good return from an equity perspective. It's a solid investment where you're investing into land. So it is property backed, and you do have a solid group which will ensure the exits after 5 years, which goes to what Jeff was saying around the investment that you're making into Go-Getter, where it is more longer term versus an investment into a fixed deposit at a bank, for an example, where you can pull it out after 30 or 60 days. Thank you very much. I'll take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Warwick. Can I suggest that if anybody has any questions for Warwick, that they put them through on the chat room, and then obviously we can deal with them. Just Warwick, can I just ask? I mean, I think quite importantly, investors, but obviously we said that it's a medium to long term, but there is, in terms of, your opportunity is in Chautauqua, that there's a put option. Can you just explain how that operates? Because I think that would give investors a nice feel and give them good, warm comfort that there is an exit opportunity here.
Yeah, perfect. So it's what the put option means is that from our side, we agree that after a period of 5 years, that we have an option to acquire those shares back, as well as GoGetta have the option to almost force us to exit their shareholding in the investments, which gives comfort to GoGetta that there is a solid group behind Chaturga, and that we are and have the ability to exit the investment after that period of time, which then allows GoGetta to give their crowdfunders more confidence that an exit would be possible.
And how would that exit price be calculated?
Yeah, so it's we're going on a fair market values. There'll be 3 independent valuations that will take place at the time, and an average price on the value of the land will be utilized, and that will be the exit valuation that we would then be required to pay GoGetta for the buyback of the shares.
Okay, great. So thank you for that. I think also give what would be interesting for the investors is that there is an offtake agreement. So whatever harvest that is generated on the farm each year, that there's a guaranteed offtaker.
Yeah, correct. So within our group, we own Nutcracker Processors, which is a sister company to Chaturga. The offtake will flow through Nutcracker, and from there we crack and process the nuts, which are then exported to the USA. We currently buy in from external farmers, whereby Chaturga will just form another client of Nutcracker, which will then process and export those nuts.
And you can confirm at what price will that offtake be?
Perfect. So we obviously operate in a market environment. Chaturga will receive the market price at the time. So to give a rough indication, you're looking at around net of around 75 Rand a kg as of today's prices.
Okay, so thanks, Warwick. That gives us, and it certainly gives me a warm comfort, and thank you for that. We welcome our next entrepreneur, Kgalaniso Maluleka, to present his opportunity to the crowd.
All right. My name is Kgalaniso Maluleka, and I'm the director of Trailered, where we build customizable trailers ready for everyday business use. These range from your food trailers, your mobile toilets, your mobile salons, basically businesses on wheels. Trailered is a second-generation company. It was started by my father over 20 years ago, Lucas Maluleka. When he started the business, he was building these trailers from our backyard, from street corners, from the bus stop to other people's backyards, and I grew up with the sound of a grinder, and when I hear that, I hear money every single time. If I don't hear that, then it's not looking too good. So essentially what we are doing here at Trailered is that we are currently in a very great space of growth. Right now, we have embarked on a huge, ambitious growth potential project, which is the African Expansion Project. Now, I joined the company back in 2016, a year into university. That's when I found out more about business, understanding who I am, and truly seeing that there's actually a lot of value that I can extract from the business. When I joined the business, we were literally only making 1 trailer a month. Currently, we're producing over 20 trailers on average. And we have the capacity to actually build 40, right? So there's a lot of growth potential within it. And I'm truly proud of what we've been able to do. With this expansion project, we have literally already started with it. We have already purchased specialized machinery. I'd like to please maybe show that specialized machinery on the slides, if by any chance. Slide, I think it's 15 there. Yes. So sorry about that. These are the kind of trailers that we build. This is one of our flagship trailers, which is known as the Lucy. It's pretty amazing, fully equipped. People who buy this, they have everything that they need in order for them to produce. Please go to the next slide. So these are the specialized machinery I'm talking about. We've already purchased these. This is a guillotine and a press brake. So essentially, you can close them up now so that my face can. Thank you. Yes. So essentially, with this, we have embarked within this expansion project, and it is because we've seen a lot of interest within other African countries who have actually bought from us, right? So you're looking at your Botswana, looking at your Swaziland, Namibia. These are countries where people have literally bought our trailer before even seeing it, before even really interacting with it, who have literally paid for the trailer in full and say, it's fine, I'll come pick it up at your border. Now, this is incredible support, in all honesty. And we've seen that. With that said, we definitely see that there's a lot of growth potential within the African continent and equipping Africans with what they need in order for them to build businesses on wheels. Now, with the help of you as an investor, we can essentially do all of these things. We buy manufacturing these specialized machinery, CNC machines, and so forth. And these will actually increase the productivity that we currently have, condense the time that it takes to actually build out a trailer, and then also help us buy machinery, buy material in bulk, right? Which has a whole lot of other added on benefits, which have not even been factored in. This money also will help us within the forward cover of the business, ensure that we actually have industry experts who will come into the business and actually teach us other ways to actually expand and grow. We're a small company, in all honesty. We are big in what we are currently doing, but we're a small company. So everything that we are currently still learning and doing essentially can really shoot off, with a very small injection of money. Now, you can essentially expect around a 18.08 internal rate of return when you invest in our company. Now, this essentially means that it is when you invest 1,000 Rand, by the end of the year, it'll be 1,180 Rands. That's a good return on investment. Now, with the exit strategy, we essentially will be paying it. We will buy back the shares from Gogetta to ensure that essentially we keep the shares within our own selves. We like keeping the control. And when I say we, I mean me and my father. So it's a very small company, as I've already alluded to. We as Trailered are building the largest trailer manufacturer in the continent. Join us and let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Khangli. So I think some questions. There are some questions here about can you share some of the economics per trailer, and what is the average price of the various trailers?
All right. So essentially, we're looking at around the 25%. Essentially is the profit margin that we mark up onto the trailer. So we're looking at 25% in profits for each and every single trailer. Our trailers right now, the most median one, which is one of my favorites, it's called the Chingali. We have a lot of African names within our trailers. And essentially, we're looking at 45,000 Rands on average for each and every single trailer. Our trailers start from 23,000 Rands upwards to over 60, 70, depending on the customer's spec, right? What do you want? So you only pay for what you want.
So if I can just add in there, I had somebody who had some sort of interest in a trailer, and I put them onto you the other day. They were looking to provide it's a housing, or let's say accommodation, plus a toilet with air conditioning. And I asked you if you could do it, and maybe you can answer that.
Oh, yes, definitely. We can do that. We've actually built a lot of trailers in and around that. We've built an accommodation trailer, which was more sort of like a caravan, but then it is more within the very unique shape that we currently have. But we can definitely build that. The client will just need to, of course, contact me and then just let me know the specifics of what they would need. Like size, what else would you want inside, things that you may not need and stuff like that. So we build a solution in and around what the customer needs.
And am I right in saying that all your trailers are SABS approved?
Yes, definitely they are. We are registered with the SABS through the NRCS, which is the governing body for trailer manufacturing. So we essentially we are a manufacturer, registered manufacturer with the Department of Transportation. All of our trailers are road legal.
Okay, we've got another question here is, what are the risks of investing in your business?
What are the risks? All right, that's quite difficult. But essentially, right now, with the growth potential that we have and all of the opportunities that we currently have, the risks are not so evident because we have also been able to tap into other industries, given the fact that our trailers actually go into different industries. Normally, I would say that, look, we only build luggage trailers. That's where my father started, right? But then now, if it's not moving season, right, like your December and stuff like that, where people are actually using these trailers, then the business would be in detriment. Also, another very unique way was then during the COVID-19 pandemic, we actually saw a decline, but then a sharp rise also within people buying our trailers, because a lot of people said, I want to equip myself with a trailer, right? So the risks, I honestly cannot say right now what are the other risks that are associated with it, but we are a young company. And with the help of the team from GrowVest, from GoGetta, I believe that we can actually pinpoint a whole lot of other opportunities within other markets and so forth. So please forgive me if I didn't answer that correctly.
So there seems to be quite a lot of interest in your trailers. There's people here saying to you, does it come with fittings inside? I want a baker's kitchen on the go. Would it come fitted with all the equipment from stoves to plugs for plugging in mixers, etc., etc.? Are there aftercare guarantees? Do you want to just address that quite quickly?
Yes, 100%. Definitely, all of our trailers come fully equipped. The ones that we currently have, even on our website, it's trailered.africa. You can go on and then check them out. But essentially, they do come fully equipped, or we can remove and add things as per the customer's need. So essentially, if you want to build a bakery, which we actually have, you can put it in, right? And we can actually build that for you. So essentially, we can build almost anything. Right now, we've actually built a mobile salon and a stage. Right, so anything that you can do.
Okay, so and just one which I love is how many, with the capital that you're raising on gogetta.africa, how many jobs will you create?
All right, so currently, right now, I don't know if I said it during my presentation, but we actually moved into 1,000 square meter manufacturing plant. So currently we've projected to actually create 20 jobs within the next coming 2 years. It is going to be about 10 immediately when we receive the money from GoGetta. I'm definitely confident that we'll be able to raise the money. And then the other 10 would essentially be from the 6th month moving forward.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so guys, so I think we're going to move on to the next entrepreneur, but maybe there seems to be a lot more questions. So maybe Hlangiso, we can, if we've got time afterwards, maybe we can address some more questions to you. I think what has coming through on the chat line generally is being about how long do you have to hold it? Is there a secondary market? So as we said earlier, and you may have come late, is that this type of investment into venture capital and private equity, which we talk about as private capital markets, which is now available to the retail investor, which is a man in the street, which never was able to attend to these investments previously, it's from a medium to long-term investment. So, and generally, the liquidity is tight. However, what is happening throughout the world, what we followed, and I understand that the JSE and a whole lot of other different platforms will be creating a secondary market, which is a licensed platform with the FSCA where one would able to trade their shares openly on a market. But until that happens, if you wanted to sell them, you don't have to hold them for a certain period. All you have to do is have a willing buyer and a willing seller, and then you can make a trade. So there's no restriction on you ever selling your shares. All you have to do is obviously have a willing buyer, willing seller. The price that you would sell your shares is going to be the market related price. So whatever the price will be at that point in time that you want to do the transaction, that the buyer is prepared to buy it at and the seller is prepared to sell it at, would be the price that the transaction will take place at. Another question is, how often do we communicate with investors? So investors will be communicated on a regular basis. The accounts of the underlying investors will always be audited by registered auditors, and within 4 months of the year end of the company, the financial statements will be presented to investors, because that is a FSCA requirement. An AGM will also take place, an annual general meeting, whereby the entrepreneurs will be invited to these AGMs, and they would present the results of their underlying businesses, and you would be able to ask any questions that you may wish to ask. Obviously, during your investment term, the intention is to communicate on a regular basis with the investors. Obviously, the more communication we have with the investors, the better. But and we encourage the entrepreneurs to report to the investor base on a quarterly basis. So hopefully that will answer a number of questions coming through on the chat. Okay, the next entrepreneur that we have is Terence Richardson, the CEO of Connecting Lives, who will tell us about Moya. Over to you, Terence.
Evening, guys. I hope you're all doing well. Firstly, a huge shout out to my fellow entrepreneurs that have come up today. I think you guys have presented some really cool products. Tailored Trailer, I think in my past experience in telco space, I think you should join the Vox Telecoms group and reach out to their CEO. He loves the Tailored Trailer thing. He's got sound stages. He's very big on that. So just a heads up on that. And then walnut farming has always been a fantastic foundation for business in Africa. The agriculture space has always been one of our backbones of our key sectors. So really big kudos to you guys. To Jeff and the team at GoGetta, I really appreciate the time that's been put in to get me to today's summary. I'll open up with my slides, if those can just be presented onto the screen. And I'm going to give a quick snapshot here. So I'll say quickly, theoretically, GoGetta will be looking to empower 10 communities, 10 rural communities, communities that are outside of the metropolitan areas, right? We'll be looking to do 500 jobs, go past 10 million homes with the connectivity, and increase revenue within the community whilst increasing job flow. I'll continue to my next slide. This is my team. You've got myself, Clinton Reyes, you've got Kumo and Cassidy Clark. Myself and Clinton Reyes are babies out of the Vumatel telecommunications company, very big in the South African metropolitans that recently has sold to CVHI. Kumo is a community titan. If you take Rustenburg, Polokwane, Joburg, very, very big into his influential communities, upliftment, does a lot of work for Anglo-American Mines in the Rustenburg area. And Cassidy Clark is our head of marketing, and she shares the same passion that the four of us share. We have a very backed board. I haven't had the privilege of presenting them, but if you go onto our site, you can meet all of our board members as well, and we all share the same vision. And that vision is a connected South Africa for every person, no matter where or what your living standard is. You should have the ability to have an access to a network, a sustainable and reliable network. May I go on to the next slide? Our overview, assisting in connecting the outer communities, in reaching all the lives whilst reaching all communities within South Africa, low cost delivery, fast, reliable, and a wireless spectrum. If you go on to the next slide, I think this will give you, so theoretically, for the everyday person who doesn't understand how we're delivering, so obviously we're not delivering a fiber network to the communities, we're delivering a Wi-Fi hotspot base station within all of our communities. Why? Because we believe that the individual who lives at the top corner of his rural community will probably be working in the middle of his community, so he'll want to only have to pay for one form of data. So biggest thing with fiber at the moment is if I leave my home, I have to rely on Cell C, Telkom, or the other parastatals that exist. This year allows the individual to stay connected throughout his entire community, whether he's in his local transportation and he's on his way to work. The moment he is in the Moya hotspot area, he will be connected based on that fee that he's paid. So for layman's terms, when you walk into a big shopping mall in South Africa and you get that Wi-Fi always on network, we are taking that always on type of technology. We have upgraded it for our communities and we are delivering that to all of our rural communities. May go to the next slide. Use of our funds. So I'm going to talk into this quite a bit. So obviously you've got your basics, your salary, your marketing, purchasing and installing of the infrastructure. I've put a clear description here. Examples of telecommunications equipment, switches, telecom towers, fiber optics cables, routers, voice over internet protocol, VoIP and smartphones. There are multiple factors that go into build into a telecommunications company. The key components of these are obviously your basic infrastructure, right? Okay. And the basic infrastructure at the moment stands at 660,000 Rand to deliver, to provide a network to 1 million users. We have dug and dived and done our research to ensure that we are offering both a business model that is sustainable within these communities so that we can eventually partner up with bigger telcos, as well as ensure that this technology will not go out of date within the 10-year space. We've also taken a technology that can be a one-to-one point of exchange with future aspects such as Starlink that's coming across the globe, hence why we've chosen this approach. This 8.5 million will deliver the 10 communities that I suggested in my opening slide, which will then empower 500 jobs, right? It will empower 10 million homes and increase revenue within these communities. How this will work is our sales model will be 20 salespeople per area, 3 managers per area, and then we'll obviously use your cheese and yamas in your townships. We have partnered with our cheese and yamas. Why? And what we'll do is on the wall of each cheese and yama that we've partnered with, we'll put our big Moya logo, and we'll theoretically allow that cheese and yama to distribute our Wi-Fi strip-offs. And those strip-offs will have a unique number, and that what that cheese and yama will be able to do is sell it at a markup price. They'll buy from us as the wholesale and distribute on our behalf. This way, from our side as a community, we are there just purely for upliftment, providing a technology, and then the community starts to work on its own and create its own ecosystem and buy from one another. So there will be no involvement from us private guys within the community, except for the empowerment of our cheese and yamas, our local salespeople, and our maintenance of our network. And in partnership with our ward councillors, and obviously in our certain townships, there are tribal communities, we have ensured that we do not deliver a network into any of these communities without having a ward councillor's letter of intent and the tribal authorities' letter of intent. This way, we ensure that we have both the community's buy-in and the local tribal authority and municipal authority to build. May I go to my next slide? Return profile, investment term, 5 years. We've partnered up with gogetta for a 5-year period. The targeted internal rate of return is 21%. The targeted average dividends is 14%, make of 2.5 times of your money. So theoretically, the minimum investment is 1,000 Rand. That 1,000 Rand at the end of the year will theoretically give you 1,800 Rand. And then my opinion to everybody is, this is a 5-year project. I will give you the secret to telco at the moment in Africa, well, in South Africa. If you go and have a look at Vumatel and have a look at the CVIH purchase, hence why Vodacom bought into CVHI, telcos are currently selling at asset value plus customer base times a multiple of 14. So for the likes of that means that such companies such as Vumatel are selling in the R1 billion mark after 4 years of inception. So we are looking to eventually take our 5 years of our 10 communities, partner up, and go and sell our asset off to one of the bigger parastatals in South Africa that can give it that extra push and take it into the next 20 years. Next slide. Yeah. So theoretically, I touched on the exit strategy there. We have been safe and put a multiple of 7 here. Like I mentioned before, the Vumatel model was a multiple of 14. Theoretically, if we continue to build the 10 assets and encourage the database, the customer base, so if we secure, we're averaging in each community around there's just under about 300,000 people per area we're building. And if you work on a 20% there, at current market value today in telecommunication space, that's a multiple of 10. So that is at current space. That could change over time with multiple competitors coming onto the market. Yeah, our exit in terms of exiting from GoGetta, we will be utilizing our surplus revenue at the end of 5 years to buy GoGetta's share percentage out from our business. Any questions? That's it from my side. I hope I didn't speak too fast. That seems to always be my problem, so I apologize in advance.
Thank you, Terence. Thank you. A very, very interesting concept which allows rural communities to now have access to data and Wi-Fi. Now, a couple of questions. Over here, the 8.5 million that you're raising, how much will be used for salaries and marketing and how much for CapEx?
So it'll be an 80-20 split, 80% for the infrastructure, 20% to facilitate the team behind the output.
Okay, and then, so Anthony Stonefield says it's spectacular. So thank you, Anthony. And obviously, how do you invest? All you have to do is go onto the gogetta.africa platform, register as a user, fill out your KYC, and then they'll give you some opportunities to how to invest, either utilizing your credit card or an EFT. I've got here a question from Skull Kearney, who says, does your 21% RR include the 14% dividend yield? And is a dividend yield annual or total over the investment period?
So it's over the total investment period on the total money given over the 5-year period. I think that's your back end of your question. Jeff, you broke up just on the first question, the first part of your question.
So I think the question, let me try to break it down for you. Is there dividends that will be paid annually? And I assume from your answer that over the period of 5 years, the average would be a 14% dividend yield. Is that correct?
No, we'll be paying dividends to GoGetta from the second year of money coming into our account. So if the money is achieved in this financial fiscal, from financial year 2, right, we will pay dividends out to all of our shareholders. That 14% will be paid out from year 2, which means GoGetta would start to earn dividends theoretically from 2023, at the end of 2023's financial year, which would theoretically be March 2024 in the close of that year.
And does the 21% RR include the dividend calc?
Yes, it does, sir.
Okay, good. And then I have a question here from Sean Naidu, who's asked, the funds that were from the sale of the tech to Vumatel, why now do you need additional funds?
So we're not in partnership with Vumatel, guys. That's where I got my start and stuff. I use Vumatel as an example in terms of how popular telecommunications is in South Africa right now, and how Vumatel use just the utilization of building network in metropolitans versus their return on investment versus how we are going to get a greater, wider audience, more people to validate our return on investments.
Okay, and then there is a question, there's some, George Lulo would like to meet with you because he has an opportunity in one of the rural communities in the Eastern Cape, and he's a member of the Tribal House, and he'd love to get in contact with you. With your permission, I will pass on that information to George.
No problem at all.
Okay, thanks. And then some just general questions that came in the chat, which I think relates to the crowdfunding. There's a lot of investors who are outside of South Africa. They want to know can they make sure that their investment is legitimate and they can trust the system. I can tell you that GoGetta is registered with the FSCA, with the Financial Services Conduct Authority of South Africa, which is the legislative body for investments in South Africa. Grovest is the administrator. We have been administrating 3.5 billion rand of assets under administration for the last 10 years, to give you some comfort. When you do invest, whether you're in South Africa or outside of South Africa, that you will get issued a share certificate, and that share certificate is proof of ownership, and that you would be able to trade your shares whenever you wish to, obviously subject to there being a willing buyer. To the extent that any dividends are declared, you would receive your dividends. So that's a question from from foreign investors. The intention is that the GoGetta platform is for entrepreneurs and investors across the continent. It is a platform for African entrepreneurs, for African investors. Okay, as we said, this crowdfunding across Africa is in its infancy. Only 0.1% of total funds invested into equity crowdfunding has come across from the continent. So this is the first of its kind to actually open up doors and opportunities for entrepreneurs to actually raise money, and for investors to actually support and invest in private companies across the continent. I think other questions were, how much can I invest, and where do I get the information for these investments? So on the platform, on the gogetta.africa platform, all the 4 entrepreneurs who are presenting today, there is an opportunity for you to invest in each of their businesses from a minimum of 1,000 Rand. There was another question to say, can I invest on a monthly basis? You can invest as long as the investment opportunity is open. So generally, the opportunity to invest is anywhere from 60 to 90 days. And you can invest, if you want to invest monthly, you can invest obviously any time before the close of that period. Why is it the investment period is limited to that of a prospectus? A prospectus is a formal prospectus, is registered with SIPC, and that's the period allowed by legislation. It cannot be open for longer than 4 months unless it is re-registered with SIPC. So I hope that assists. The minimum amount again is 1,000 Rand. Asked what the maximum amount is. Why in Shantuka did they say there's a maximum amount of 10 million? That is the amount that they are that is ideal for them to raise. But there is a minimum amount in Shantuka of 4 million Rand. If they raise a 4 million, which they have got commitments to already, then that would be considered a successful capital raise. So hopefully that assists with a whole lot of questions. And I'm just looking here if there's anything else for you. Terence over here is that I think that caters for all the questions that you have. Again, people want to know how to invest into your opportunity. Again, just go onto the gogetta.africa platform and you can follow the prompts and you can make your investment. Also, something that I never raised is that how do we as GoGetta get entrepreneurs onto the platform? So right across the continent, we have got a scout program. And a scout program is whereby you as an entrepreneur or maybe as a financial consultant or advisor comes across a business that is looking to raise capital. You can register as a scout, and then you yourself would become effectively an agent and you can promote various entrepreneurs. You can send them across to us on the successful capital raising of that business. You as a scout would receive 1% of the total capital raised. So this in itself is an opportunity for those people who are well networked, who understand the landscape, the ecosystem for VC, early stage investing, who understand seed capital, and come across or have a network of people who are looking to invest capital. They can register with us at hello@gogetta.africa, and they would be able to register as a scout. And if their business gets registers and goes through the various filters and passes due diligence, and it gets listed on the platform, and then you would be entitled to, on successful capital raising, to get 1%. We're now going to go on to poll number 3, and the poll number 3 is anyone on this platform or on today's webinar interested in becoming a scout? If yes, register yes. If no, no problem. We understand that you might just be an entrepreneur or an investor, but are there any scouts on the platform or on today's webinar? Please, will you fill out the poll? And any results? Okay, so yes, so we've actually 50% of the people on today's webinar are interested in becoming a scout. Please drop us a line at hello@gogetta.africa, and Liat Sakarovitz, who looks after partnerships and scouts, will come back to you. So in the interim, please feel free to reach out to us. Okay, then I invite Logan Wolfson, the co-founder of the Naked Cuba Rentals, to come online and present his opportunity.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jeff. So I'm Logan Wolfson, founder of the Naked Cuba, and the Naked Cuba is an art business that was started 3 years ago. And I'm quickly just going to run you through how and why I started creating art. So I was, after uni, I went and started working at an insurance company as an actuarial analyst. And I really felt like I didn't have a creative outlet. So I approached my friends and I said, hey, I think I'm going to buy 600 Rubik's Cubes and start making art with them. And they kind of all looked at me funny and said, well, it's quite the change from being an actuary and to artist. So I said, yeah, it is. But, you know, I was so good at solving Rubik's Cubes. In high school, I was a bit obsessed. And in matric, actually, I broke the South African record for the fastest solve. It was quite a new sport, and it was upcoming. And I was really good. And I came up with this idea in the shower one day. I'm really good at Rubik's Cubes. What can I use this skill for? And it kind of came to me that images and art are just pixels. And a Rubik's Cube, which I have one right here, okay, the background's making it hard to see, is that it's just got little blocks and different colors. And if you solve a Rubik's Cube in a certain way and you combine enough of them, it actually creates a beautiful artwork. And I ended up buying 600 Rubik's Cubes and started just posting these videos and pictures on social media. And a few of the videos, especially on TikTok, got quite a few million views, and we started getting quite viral, and the interest really grew quite nicely. We got spotted by Rubik's, the original brand in the UK. So I just want to make a distinction that the toy is also referred to as the Rubik's Cube, but the original Rubik's Cube is by the brand Rubik's, and they're in the UK. And we're actually sponsored by them now. So there's that partnership, and we get them now at a wholesale rate. So I just want to show you on the slides a few of my favorite pieces, and just so you can see what these artworks look like, and also the size that we're going to be using. Okay, great. So these two is John Lennon and Freddie Mercury. And some of these artworks are currently, if you're in Durban, there's a sugar mill there called More Africa, and the CEO walked into one of the galleries one day and he loved the Nelson Mandela. So he bought it for his boardroom. And if you're in Cape Town or near Claremont, there is a marketing company called Engage Video, and they just bought one because they had a beautiful Nelson Mandela quote that they wanted to match with a nice artwork. All right, so I just want to go through why Rubik's Cube art versus traditional art. So a painting has relatively low value. The paint on the canvas doesn't have a lot of value. Most of the value from a painting comes from the artist, the skill, and the reputation. And it might fetch a higher price if they're dead versus if they're alive. Whereas Rubik's Cube art, if you look at Takealot, the current price of a Rubik's Cube is about 230 Rand. And this artwork that you're seeing on the screen has 289 Rubik's Cubes. So that's just under 70,000 K in market value. So straight away, once this artwork is created, it already has a floor price of asset value. So there's an intrinsic value. And then on top of that, you can still add on the reputation and the skill of the artist. So this art is definitely inflation hedged if you're an investor. And the opportunity today with Gogetta is a new company we've registered called Naked Cuba Rentals, which is a very flexible art rental business. And what we're going to be doing is we're trying to raise 1.75 million. And this is going to purchase quite a few thousand Rubik's Cubes, which we're going to use to create quite a few artworks. And these are then going to be rented to corporates, hotels, restaurants. And the gap or the niche that it's filling is a lot of these spaces purchase art, but then when they want to change the space or renovate or change the ambience or the vibe, they're left with all this admin of trying to sell these artworks. And often you never really get back what you bought it for, unless it's a very expensive investment piece. So the solution is, we think, is Rubik's Cube art. Not only is it's not fixed, so someone will pay a monthly fee for their artwork in their space, but they can also request that because the Rubik's Cubes are movable and changeable, the artwork can actually be changed. So that's the use of the funds. And the exit will be, the term will be 5 years. So there'll be cash flow monthly from the rental incomes. In the first 2 years, the rental income will be used to purchase more artworks, which will then be rented out again. And after 5 years, all the artworks will then be sold. So just giving you an example, if you invested 5,000 Rand, the return, sorry, can we go to the returns page on the slide? So the return is 23% per year. So after 5 years, you're looking at an investment back of about 14,000 Rand. If you invested 500 Rand, 5,000 Rand, and a dividend of 6%, which is about 300 Rand per year on a 5,000 Rand initial investment. So if you're excited about my vision, or you're a first-time investor, or have never invested in art before, or we welcome all seasoned investors, we're amped to go on this journey with you. And if there's any more information, you can get that on Gogetta's website.
Okay, so thank you, Logan. Thanks so much. So just a couple of questions, and statements and the story. So really, am I right in saying that the art that you produce has actually got an asset backing by the Rubik's Cube itself?
Exactly. Just like the first example where they were purchasing a farm and land with the funds, so the land appreciates in value. With the funds we're going to be using, we're going to be purchasing Rubik's Cubes, which will then be used to create artworks. And because the artwork is comprised of individual Rubik's Cubes, it will have an asset value and intrinsic value already.
Okay, great. There's a question here from Glenn Morris, who said, can you commission artwork? So assuming let me just expand a little bit, that maybe you love Freddie Mercury, you want a Freddie Mercury, alternatively, your business, you wanted a logo or a specific piece of art that you could make out of the Rubik's Cube. Could you do that?
Yeah, definitely. With if you invest through Gogetta, corporates can request a specific piece that they would like with the Naked Cuba rental, and definitely we can create any artwork you'd like.
Okay, there's a question here from Gerald Weiss who says, can you tell us more about the rental model, and are you getting rentals from some of your existing pieces?
Okay, thanks, Daryl. So we haven't rented out previously. We kept that for Gogetta and the Naked Cuba rental. And a little bit more about the rental is that the size you saw on the screen, that's just under 300 Rubik's Cube artwork, is going to be rented out for roughly 1,200 Rand a month. And that's going to cover the investment and the return over 5 years. And then that piece is then going to be sold after 5 years, which will then be paid out. Sorry,
no. So I apologize for interrupting you. So just say somebody rented a piece and then they wanted to exchange it after a period of time because they were bored or for whatever reason. Could they do that?
Yes, definitely. So we use a special glue in the frame with the Rubik's Cubes so that the cubes can be released from the frame. We can then go in, we'll change and resolve all the Rubik's Cubes, and then that client or customer will have a brand new, without changing or increasing the amount of their subscription for the artwork, they will have a new piece within a week.
Okay, how long does it take you to make an art piece?
So generally, the longest part of the process is actually the design. So that is a lot of times going to be spent working on the design of them, because you're not working with a lot of pixels. You've got to really get your shapes, and it takes a long time to get the actual pixel design right. But the solving part of it, we can really solve a whole 300 Rubik's Cubes in about a day.
And you've obviously sold a number of pieces today. What's the average price that you're selling your pieces for?
Good question. So we've been selling them at a bit of a discount just to get more artworks into the market. And the most recent piece that was sold in Sea Point was actually that Freddie Mercury, which was 45,000.
And there are pieces here. So will you sell any pieces from Go-Getter Rental? I mean, from Naked Cuba Rentals, would you sell pieces, not necessarily rent them? Will you sell them as well?
That is an option, but for the initial project and crowdfunding, that will just be rentals. And also the option is to sell those artworks after the 5 years. If someone was interested, one of the investors was interested in purchasing one of those artworks, or another client, they could purchase those artworks straight from Gogetta, as they would own those 135 artworks at the end of 5 years.
Okay, brilliant. So, so the intention really is, I think it's a novel opportunity for, let's say, innovative companies who want to show that they nimble, with obviously moving the Rubik's Cubes around to create art and create solutions. It's lovely to have in a boardroom or in the reception, and that is the model.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So some people are saying, how do we invest? Obviously, again, go back onto the platform, gogetta.africa. You can click on the Naked Cuba rental button. You can follow the various prompts, register, and fill out your KYC. And then your options are to invest a minimum of 1,000 Rand, and you can use your credit card or an EFT button. Also some other questions, and these are some general, again, from overseas. How do you receive your payout? The payout obviously is that the underlying investment would declare a dividend. Go-Getter would receive that dividend, and Go-Getter would then in turn declare a reciprocal dividend all the way through to the investor and it makes no difference whether you are in South Africa, in Africa, or Europe, or North America, or wherever you may be, you would be able to receive your dividend. Again, also, if you exit your investment, same thing. The money is the GoGetter is the primary investor. GoGetter would then receive the funds. You are a shareholder in GoGetter, and GoGetter would then distribute the funds to yourself. Questions as to what are the costs for investing in GoGetter? The entrepreneur would pay 6% of capital raised for a successful capital raise in the investment. To the investor, there is no additional cost other than that of the transaction fees in order to make your investment. So we recover if you're paying through a credit card or EFT, that there is a transaction cost that you would add to your investment. I'm just looking to see if there's any. Okay, so we've been asked if through the chat line, is there any type of industry that anybody on today's webinar would like to see offered on the platform? So at the moment, you've seen we have art, we have agri, we have communications, and we have, what else do we have? And then we have manufacturing in terms of trailers. And is there anything else you would like to see be offered onto the platform? Please put in the chat. And then again, any other questions you would like to ask prior to us calling this webinar a close. Okay, we've got a question here. What happens if one invests and the business does not reach its financial close? Yes, then it is not a successful capital raise. And what will happen that the money would be returned to the investor, or alternatively that if at the election of the investor, that money could be put into a wallet that he could use or she could use for further investments. Okay, I'm going to go around the room. Warwick, I'm going to start with you. There's some questions. Were you affected by the KZN drought, and what have you done, or how the macadamia farm, how can it, what are the risks of drought, and what are you doing about it? Can I ask you to come on?
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. I think the first question was around the floods in KZN. So I'll just answer that question. We weren't too badly affected. Our practices that we run, we do full cover, so we don't take the grass away from in between the mac trees. So we had some stability when we had the heavy rainfall, so that protected us quite nicely. And then from a drought perspective, obviously drought's always a concern from an agricultural perspective, but we take as many preventative risks from subsistence, sorry, from an irrigation perspective. But the rainfall in KZN is they're quite stable with around 1,200 mils per annum. But the more you move inland, the more preventative preventions you need to take when it comes to irrigation.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Any closing comments from you?
No, nothing from my side. But well done to you guys and the team. I think it's a great platform that GoGetter's put together, and it's also something new for the likes of the Foxwest Group, where we've predominantly been involved in traditional finance, which has gone through private equity bank debt structures. So it's quite nice to look at the new and up and coming ways to raise capital. So we're quite excited with the journey that we'll be taking with GoGetter.
Okay, thank you, Warwick. Khangiso, can I ask you to come on for your final comments?
All right. No, I'm very happy with how everything panned out. and also with all of the interest that we've actually received and the interesting questions that I got. So, but besides that, no other thing. I'm really glad to actually meet all of you guys here. Already we have, I know, but it's very, very encouraging to see this. And I'm hoping that next time we'll have a little bit more female panelists also there to spice up the room and make everything all nice and balanced. But thank you so much to GoGetta. And yeah, guys, I hope you invest.
Okay, thank you so much. Terence, can I ask you any final comments from you?
Final comments from me. I think the Moya logo just translated. It's in the air. Help us make the unattainable attainable for the everyday person. That's my final comment.
Thank you. Logan, from you?
Yeah, we're just excited to reach the target and to make some awesome artworks.
Great. And Elijah, as a serial entrepreneur yourself, well-versed in this space, anything you'd like to add?
And just all the best to the other entrepreneurs raising funds, and to the investors out there, happy investing and happy finding the next African unicorn. Good luck.
Great. Thank you, guys. We've got one last poll, and while I'm putting this poll on, it is, have you created an account with GoGetta? If no, I would like to. I'm still thinking about it. Again, all you have to do is register, fill out your KYC. There is no commitment. We are not going to come and raid your bank account. You are not asking for your bank account. All we're asking for is you to register so you can get all our information and regular mails, and that we will be sending a mail straight after today's webinar. We've had a lot of questions. Will this be available, this recording be available? I do assume that it will be available. It will be on in our letter that we will be sending you tomorrow for thanking you for your attendance. There will be some information on what you have to do in order to get to get down the recording. Just some general comment is, how do you generate, the valuation? What is the best amount to get a dividend? So what you're doing, you're actually subscribing. When you invest on the platform, you are subscribing for a share in the business. So you're investing in GoGetta, and GoGetta will utilize your funds to mirror an investment into the underlying investment. And you will own a number of shares, and when those shares declare dividends, you will get a dividend per share depending on how many shares you own. So hopefully that answers that question. Again, the valuation will be determined according to the performance of the business. There is not one rule for all of them. So some of the investments will do better than others. Some will hopefully become 10 times money, and others hopefully will give you a return better than what you could get in any other investment. But there is, and I have to tell you that there is risk. There are no guarantees, and we're not suggesting that you put your whole investment portfolio into this asset class. What are we suggesting? That you would put up to 20% of your portfolio into private capital markets across a portfolio of investments. So therefore, if one does poorly, you would be obviously your other investments in your portfolio will hopefully overall have the portfolio effect of doing well for yourself in terms of the asset class. Okay, we are giving CPD points. What we're saying to you, if you require CPD points, please send a mail. Okay, please send a mail to Lebohang, Lebohang at gogetta.africa with your CBD as a subject, and Lebo will ensure that you get your CPD certificate. If you didn't get Lebo's details, just use hello at gogetta.africa, but it's better to use Lebohang at gogetta.africa, and she will sort out your CBD certificate. I apologize to everybody on today's call for running over, but it's been very interesting. There's been tons and tons of questions. So I'm hoping that we have had the ability to give you some insight into what crowdfunding is all about, give you create an exciting opportunity to get involved in venture capital and private equity and private capital markets, and to dip your toe into the water with a minimum of 1,000 Rand and build a portfolio across a whole lot of different industries and African entrepreneurs, and hopefully have fun and make money at the same time. As I said to you again, this is the first of many, many go-getter type webinars of this nature. I thank all our participants and entrepreneurs and Elijah for participating. I thank the Go-Getter and Grovest marketing team for putting this all together. We look forward to growing a huge community, a huge go-getter crowd, investment base that will take advantage of this unique opportunity. So thank you, have a good evening, and thank you for your time. Cheers.